Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and this is Create Your Own Cozy. On today's video, I am going to play with milk paint. I had so much fun on last week's video using some milk paint, and some of you guys suggested trying to use it on some furniture and putting some paint underneath to have the different looks. So I went ahead and did that. And plus, I have some milk paint in my supply collection. It's getting kind of big. So I'm trying to go through my supply collection that is housed right here and use some of these colors. I'm also trying to do the other part, which is get some more medium priced items into my booth. So I have this little collection of tables that I thrifted, and I'm going to update, and if you want to see how they turn out, stick around. So let's get started with the first project. I got this little table for $4.99 at the Goodwill. It had some really shiny paint on it, so the first thing I did was used my electric sander to get the sheen off, and then I decided to use First Crush. The vendor is going out of business in my mall selling milk paint, so I got 30% off of this originally $6 sample size, and did 2 scoops of warm water to 2 scoops of the milk paint powder, and then made sure I mixed it really well. I ended up doing around 2.5 to 3 coats just because this was a lighter color going over the dark brown, and wanted to make sure that it didn't have an opaqueness to it. So I did end up doing around 2.5 to 3 coats, especially on the horizontal surfaces. And the crazy thing for me about milk paint is you have no idea how it's going to attach. So I was pretty happy. It was chippy, and I chose pink because I knew that this brown, it was not worth it to me with the money I put into this. It was not worth it to me to do any stripping or to completely cover the brown. So I wanted the brown to be able to go with the pink when it distressed away. So I did this, I sanded it down and covered it with just Minwax wax that I got from the home improvement store. Also, I use a continual mist water bottle that I got from Hobby Lobby, just if I feel like the paint is getting too thick or if it needs to kind of reactivate so I can move it again, and I use that on all the projects today. Didn't want to add any dark wax or anything to this, so I just used the wax that I had, and pretty happy with the results. Project number 2 I found at the Goodwill for around $10. I liked the size that it was, and I didn't mind the finish. It wasn't particularly my taste. I was about to paint it when my daughter said, "Mom, someone is going to like this." So I decided to just, the legs were pretty, they moved around a little bit, so I just flipped it over and tightened all the screws, and that solved the problem for this one. And then just decided, since there was some paint that was flicking off, decided to go ahead and sand it down with some 220 grit sandpaper so that all the excess paint came off. I don't know if you guys are noticing, but Henry is not having it this week. He has been upset with me or trying to get involved with hair dryers and brooms and sanding and painting. So don't mind him. I had my daughter kind of clean up the legs because they were just a matte black and I was leaving them as is. So all I did to this piece was add some Min Wax paste finishing wax to the top. Just made sure that was really rubbed in so it would be resealed. And as you can see, this is the result. Very little work. This third project, I just loved it. I got this from the Place thrift store for $15, and you can see that it's very shaky. The legs are just very shaky. I was going to use wood glue, but at first I thought it was just this one that needed some glue. So I got out some Star Bond super fast thin adhesive, and mainly for the tip to try to get in this little area. And try to just put it in there. You can see I kind of like get a little bit too much out, but I don't think it's a big problem. I didn't make a mess. Did the first leg and then realized that that wasn't enough. So I put the glue in all 4 of the legs and then put something heavy on the top, and it solved the problem. Next, I'm using just some Waverly chalk paint in the color Primitive. I just found a nice grayish that I had in my stash. And I basically want to cover up most of this wood. It's not as orange on camera as it is in person. This was not a good looking wood, and I wanted to have a bunch of base colors underneath it so that when the milk paint pulled away, it wouldn't pull away to this orange wood. There'd be some different colors underneath. And as you can see here, this is a very dried out white Rust-Oleum chalked paint. And I went with it. It was a very thick paint. It was almost like I was adding some texture to this piece without having to add any baking soda or salt wash to it. So I went with it. I went in all kinds of directions, hoping that when the milk paint pulled away, you'd also be able to see this fun texture that was added. So I ended up adding some of the DIY gray skies to the project as well. And I just wanted to show you real quick. I am kind of liking the way this is looking as is. Maybe a couple more colors could be added and this could just be a paint project. But I'm going to keep going with my milk paint and have that stuff just hoping to peek out underneath. And I mixed Pantry Door, which is this beautiful color that is practically the same color as the DIY Apothecary. No wonder I love it. So I mixed it 50-50 mixture with warm water and the powder, and then just did 2 solid coats on this piece. There was a part of me that thought, should I just partially cover this? But I will use that on the next project, that technique. So this one I'm covering fully with the milk paint to see what kind of stuff can come from the underneath during the distressing part of this project. So I got the first coat on, did some hair drying to it to try to speed up the process, and not much was happening. So I went ahead and did the second coat, and lo and behold, the second coat, look at this crackling. That is exactly what I was hoping would happen. I wanted it to look like it was found this way, and I'm really happy with the fact that it did some of that after the second coat. So I'm still letting this piece dry. I do wait for a good half a day, and then take it outside, put the sander to it, and then realize that might be a little too much, and then start distressing it just by hand with a 220 grit, and just kind of powdering it down, make it nice and smooth. I did notice that the paint did look a little streaky, and sometimes that can take up to a day to get removed. So I'm letting it dry out some more. I'm going to cover it with a Minwax wax. I'm loving the green color the way that it is. I don't want it to get muddy or darker. So I'm just going to cover it with a top coat, and I'm so happy with the results. This next project happened because I had some extra paint mixed, and you know, if you mix up the milk paint, you need to use it all or else it'll get rock hard. So I used this crate that I got at the thrift store for $4 and kind of did the same exact process I did on the last project. I used all those base colors because I wanted this to look like an old crusty tool tote. So I did the base colors, and then on this one I decided when I got to the milk paint not to do full coverage, to make it a little drippier and kind of just fill in some of the spaces. The benefit is I liked the color of wood of this box, so it wasn't orange. I wasn't worried about that coming through when it came to the distressing. But you can see these are the layers of paint that I did just like the table, and then I do the same, and then I do the same milk paint here, but you can tell I'm not rubbing it in, and right here I just let it drip. Guys, how many people are enjoying watching this drip, and how many people are dying to clean it up? Being a painter for quite a while, it took a lot for me not to clean it up, but I let it drip, and then in the end I kind of did do a little bit of dragging it, but I left the drips there, and I am so happy with how this looks. I sanded it down so you can see some of the wood. I spray painted it with some polyurethane top coat just because it's easier to spray down into the box to make sure it was sealed in and all this old goodness stays this way. what did you guys think? Did you have a favorite? My favorite had to be the table with the Sweetie Jane milk paint. I just love the layers and the look of it, and I feel like it did tend toward my favorite DIY paint in Apothecary. So it's still in that color family, and I'm trying something different that has that old found look to it, and I'm really loving the look that the milk paint gives. I think I might be keeping that toolbox. I think that might be my new toolbox, and to keep all my brushes and stuff. I just really loved the freedom, the drippy paint, and the not painting everything. It bothered me a little bit at first to just not paint everything, but I really love how it turned out. Let me know in the comments below which one was your favorite. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to Miles and Susan, who I got to meet this week as I was fluffing my booth, and got to have a conversation with you guys. It was so fun and encouraging, and I really enjoyed meeting you guys. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what was your favorite. If you enjoy the content on this channel, I would love it if you would hit subscribe and hit that notification bell to all so that you can get notified every time I upload a new video. Guys, I'm having so much fun, and thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. Bye, see you in the next video.